Welcome to the Path to Purpose interview show, where we share our unique and universal stories about finding and fulfilling our purpose. My name is Katja, and I'm your host, story coach, and mentor for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to purpose. And today I have a pleasure to interview Jonathan Bender, who is the founder of WholeSpeak LLC and is known internationally as an expert in public speaking and leadership presence. For over 26 years, Jonathan has helped thousands of coaches, healers, executives, and other professionals who are on a spiritual and personal growth path to powerful presences, both when speaking and in their everyday lives. Specialties include confidence, crafting compelling presentations, connection, leadership presence, and becoming a dynamic speaker. Jonathan holds a Master's of Fine Art in Theater, Contemporary Performance, as well as Master of Science in Speech, Communication, and Performance Studies. Today, he'll share with us how to speak with confidence and presence. So let's get started here. Welcome, Jonathan. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And wow, I have my pen and paper ready to take notes from this one. And just curious to know, as this show is called Path to Purpose, was there a special event that led you on this path?
It's really what I've been doing most of my life. And I was kind of someone who, as a youth, didn't have much of a voice and felt very invisible and disempowered, even kind of disembodied and dissociated. And when I started speaking and performing when I was 14, it was not out of aptitude, but because I really needed to find myself and find my voice. And that was also the year that I started on a spiritual path as well. And I suddenly started working with energy and seeing auras even, and more intuitive gifts that came in shortly after. And so it never really stopped. It's something that has been part of my growth, first as part of kind of healing my own wound, and then as a gift that I've cultivated and honed over the years. That's really an honor to be able to support others in.
Wow, that is a journey. And I can relate to I had a lot of fear with public speaking. So when you shared you wanna be a guest here, I was like, yes, because this public speaking can feel so scary. I was one of those who were terrified to do a school presentation. I still remember my hands were shaking so much that it was hard to read what I wrote. So there is also a lot of shame around having that fear, because for some reason most of us think that everybody should be able to speak in public. So what's your opinion? Is this common or unusual to have those nerves when it comes to public speaking?
It's funny because so many people look at others and think they seem to have it all fine, they're together, and I'm just the one who has the secret fear. And am I hopeless? I've heard that in one iteration, others so many times. And so it's so common, and most likely other people are dealing with it as well, and they are just perhaps masking it better, or maybe they kind of force themselves to do it, but it's really common. And by the way, too, I want to just define that when we say public speaking, it's really simply any place where you are putting yourself in the public eye in any setting. So that I could be on a stage. It might be simply leading something on Zoom or talking to a few people. For some, it's talking to thousands. For others, it's talking to more than 2 or 3 people. So you can understand that these skills and what we're talking about can apply for many different places in your life.
Thank you for that definition. I love it, because sometimes we think speaking on stadium, and it can be just speaking in a team meeting or doing a presentation or doing a Facebook Live. So I think there is a
Absolutely.
different forms of this. And in your opinion, why do these nerves arise? Why is it?
Yeah. So so there's why and there's also when. And so the when I wanted to mention too, it might be for some people like months beforehand. They have dread and they don't want to deal with it. For others, they're excited until like the night before,
Mm. Like,
or maybe right before, or maybe in the middle of a talk when something goes wrong, or afterward, even where like the inner critic rears up and says, "You should have done it this other way," and you feel badly. So that's kind of like the when, and all of them are really common. In terms of the why, there's some really distinct reasons. And the first thing to recognize is that nervousness, also like fear, dread, anxiety, all of these go back to the nervous system. So it is a physiological response. And I'm sure that you know, and that many people here have heard of the fight, flight, freeze response. So this is a survival mechanism. And it's possible to have flight and just not show up, or to fight. And fighting when we're speaking is not pretty. It kind of shows up as kind of arguing with the audience. But mostly it's freeze.
mm,
And when we're in freeze, there's this physiological response where we have a lot of energy inside that needs to go somewhere. And that might look like having a lot of physical tension, which might even make your voice sound higher because it's constricting your airflow and passageway. You might have shaking or dry mouth or a bunch of other fun physical things like the heart beating really fast. And this is because you are designed to run away from that tiger.
mm,
However, it's just a friendly audience, most likely. And so that's something we'll talk about, the good news of that a little later. But that's why we are designed to do that if we feel threatened. Now,
mm,
another aspect I'll mention as well is that we often have a very negative mindset. And that means that we're afraid of being judged. We think maybe they're not going to like us. We might get rejected. And other ideas that kind of come down to we are somehow like not enough. So that's another aspect. I think there are other reasons that come to mind, but I'll just kind of name those for now because
yeah.
they're really
And I want to name one because when you were sharing, I did Toastmasters to practice speaking. And one of my fears was like, what if I forget everything? Because I was one who wrote down my speech, what I wanted to say. And then I was like, had that fear and worry that now I needed to remember everything word by word. And what if I forget, like go blank?
right. And that's also part of the negative mindset is asking ourselves the wrong questions.
Mhm.
It's like, what if this happens? Like, well, yeah, what if, the roof caves in? It's probably not going to, but you can handle it if you do. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so funny how our mind can work either for us or against us. And it is again the choice.
Yeah.
And
And I know that one, by the way, about fear we're going to forget, because I've been through everything that I'm talking about here. It's not like I suddenly was like amazing. I've been through every single iteration of it.
yeah, and I think like you also have theater background, and
Mhm.
that for me is another another level of things because if you mess your words, it's also influenced the other actors. I did
Right.
tiny bit of theater, so I was always like, oh, what if I forget my lines? So then they need to improvise to help me to catch up. So
Well, yeah. Interdependence, the
yeah.
pitfalls.
And let's then like, okay, move this like now we talked, and if you resonate with this, maybe you can put it on the comments like, yeah, I get that thing. And now can you tell us some things that we can do to shift it?
Yeah. So there's really 5 areas that we can improve. And these work together. It's not like here's my little checklist. It's a holistic integrative model that I have developed and have taught for a very long time. So So let's begin with the body. Because we know that the nervous system is in the body, we can also transform it through the body. My work is very somatically based as well as very energetically based, which is kind of another tangent to go on. But in terms of the body, is that the nervous system has this very kind of light electrical energy. And when we learn to just like feel the weight of our body and to take a deep breath and to let our bodies get heavy, and we begin to ground and center, then we shift out of that electrical nervous system energy and so physiologically actually into the organs. But what's most important to know is that we get supported by our weight and by the earth. And as we also learn to ground in other ways, we begin to shift out of that nervous system habitual response. As long as this is something that isn't just something you know to do, but is a tool that you practice regularly that then becomes part of you. So that's number one, the body. Number two is the mind. So, or having a growth mindset instead of a negative mindset. So, for example, the truth is that the audience wants you to be great.
Yeah.
No one is watching this right now hoping to be bored and have their time wasted and to be uninspired. We all want something positive in like 99% of occasions. There's also being able to evaluate yourself in a positive growth way, as opposed to letting the inner critic kick in afterward and kick you in the butt. So when we orient ourselves toward growth, that also changes things. So we have the body, the mind, and the second is how to warm up. So we have to know how to really prepare and how to practice effectively and how to warm up beforehand so that you really get yourself ready. Not just ready, you're getting your talk ready, but ready like physically, since speaking is an embodied act. Ready emotionally and mentally to be seen, to be vulnerable and in our power. Ready vocally and opening up your voice. And of course, getting your talk ready as well.
Yeah.
So number 4 is interesting. So for anyone out there who has like a certification in something, whether you were a healer or a lawyer, is that you have gone through a particular set of training in order to be able to know what you're doing. And it's generally recognized, oh, I see, yes, they have that accreditation, they know how to do that, you know that. But for public speaking, there is no clear bar and measure for that. And there is this assumption that because we can just like speak and other people do, we should be able to stand on a stage or lead a workshop on Zoom or something like that, or even Toastmasters. However, it is in fact an art and a science. And there are specific things that are needed to learn in order to step into your confidence, step into your power, from body language and vocal power, connection skills, eye contact, embodiment, and a lot more. And when you really learn all of that step by step, it is truly transformative. Now, the art of it is you still get to be you. It's not like you're trying to be like me or like some other speaker who you really admire. So competence, in turn, creates greater confidence. So just to kind of sum up, we've had the body, the mind, warming up, competence, and the last one is one of my favorites, which is presence. Presence is something that you truly can learn and grow. To be present physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, and to grow that presence and even more present vocally with more of your full voice, not your habitual voice, which, by the way, people think that, well, this is just my voice. Well, as a matter of fact, that's largely how do you hold tension in your body? How are you breathing? And learning to have a more full resonant voice is more of who you truly are, not your habitual self. And one of the benefits of having greater presence is that when you are fully present and you have the competence and skill set to be able to see what arises and work with it, you can handle anything that happens. And when you trust yourself to handle anything that is happening in the moment, that also grows your confidence as well.
Wow.
So those are the 5 things that I found have made a tremendous difference for, I'm honored to say, really thousands of people at this point.
Wow, thank you for sharing those. I think they were really helping us to see as well what are these different areas to focus on. And I know since you have worked with so many people, and have you noticed that there are specific group that might resist more this kind of type of training than others? It just came to my mind, so just wanted to check in because I just got the sense that it sounds very needed and very clear what you do. But I just get a feeling as well that there might be people who resist this type of work.
Sure. I'll speak of two different ends of the spectrum. The one are those who are just like, I just want a solution. Tell me what to do. I don't want to do any inner work. It's like, well, you need outer technique, but you also have to go inside and be able to do the inner transformation and the embodiment and things. And so those who don't want to go deep while also getting the professional skills aren't right. But the other end of the spectrum are those who are really on the spiritual path.
Mm.
And sometimes they think, like, I just need to get some hypnotherapy or meditate on this. And they also realize, no, you actually have to learn a full body of technique, but also there can be a fear sometimes that they have to be fake or be like someone else because they're like, oh, I have to perform and learn how to perform. I don't want to perform. I just want to be me.
Yeah.
And well, we have to change our mindset around this, is that when you grow your skills, you are in fact learning to be more of yourself. Like
Mm.
you are embracing a greater level of your self-expression and opening up. And when you do, it transforms your energy. Your whole field begins to open when you start to feel more of your voice and expand that and relax into your full presence. So that's if anyone else has that resistance out there, I want to encourage you. No, you get to be more of you, not constrict yourself into being like someone else.
I love that. Thank you for sharing it because it's really allowing yourself also to have that opportunity to express with greater ease and really speak from your heart. Because I know if you are tuning in, you most likely have a message to share. So thank you for sharing that part. And besides contacting you, which I totally recommend if somebody is now like, yes, I do have a message, I do want to share, and I want to just find a greater freedom to express it. So contacting Jonathan is a really great idea for you. And then just wanted to check if there is something that now whoever is listening here, what could they do to particularly help this path about calming the nerves? What could be the first step? Because you mentioned 5, but where
Yeah.
can I start?
So the first thing I would say is that in terms of mindset is really embrace this as a growth opportunity, that
Mm.
this is how you will be able to grow into more of who you are. Continue with what I just said. Now, beyond that, I think if, as I kind of started to demo a little bit earlier, just learning to kind of like find your center and your breath and breathing diaphragmatically, if that's something you know how to do, relaxing into the ground, and from that point starting to kind of discover that who you are, there is an essence and there are the habits that who we have thought we have become. And I'm sure that's not a new idea for so many people here. And so just begin to start to look at opportunities of where you can do that, where you can kind of heal
Mhm.
and release who you thought you were and these embodied habits around your voice, and then have the skills to really like grow yourself into this greater presence, which isn't just for public speaking. It really is how we show up like in our lives every single day.
Beautiful. And you've totally given us a lot to think about today and a lot to also test it out, practice these things. And I know you put a special gift for my community to take what we have been talking here today and go deeper. So, can you share a little bit about it?
Sure. So I really wanted to inspire people to find their voice in a deeper way. And so I have an inspirational video that I've made that I encourage you to watch. It's really short, and I hope this excites you and inspires you. And you also may be able to sign up as well, depending upon when you're watching this, for an upcoming workshop on healing your voice as well. So I encourage checking out those resources.
Beautiful. And you find them on the below on the comments. And now, as we start wrapping up here, I just want to ask, do you have a special message that you would like to share?
I think it's really important to remember that amidst all of the clamor in the world and everything on social media and all the events, is that your voice really matters. And when we don't speak up, that also makes a difference, not necessarily what we want it to. So, really choosing to find our voice, to speak up from our hearts, from our soul, from our earth and spirit, is that this is a path to what I believe is creating the change we want to see in the world, and being the change as well. So please embrace this for the sake of yourself and those you know in the world.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time and all the work that you do in the world.
Thanks so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for watching the Path to Purpose interview show. And if you like this interview, hit the thumbs up button. And I'm sending you lots of love, lots of light, and stay well and stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you can also check the previous episodes. Bye for now.